Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Tennessee Ministry Network Influencers podcast. Most of you that are watching know exactly who this is sitting beside me, 99.9% of you. But for that 0.01% that just randomly stumbled across this podcast or this YouTube channel, I am with our network superintendent, Pastor Terry Bailey. And you are responsible for overseeing roughly 210 churches, 600, 700 credentialed ministers, right?
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
So my guess is that equals a lot of phone calls, texts, and emails a day.
Well, it's kind of like herding wild cats.
Oh,
it's like every day is a high-speed washing machine.
My Lord. Do you throw the cat in the washing machine?
Sometimes. I try not to be thrown in there myself.
Right. So I would really be interested in knowing combined how many phone calls, texts, and emails you get in a day. Now, I don't mean the emails where like a prince from Tanzania, asks for you to wire them money, but legitimate emails, texts, phone calls in a day.
I would say probably an average day be about 25.
Wow. And you are really prompt at responding.
Well, I'm not as good right now as I have been in times past.
Well, I feel special then because you respond to me quickly.
Well, you're one of the top of my list. I mean, if you reach out to me, I'm getting back with you.
I'm blushing. Well, we today are going to have some fun conversation, and then we'll trend toward a little more serious conversation as we go.
Sir.
I have a few questions for you. I think at times because people see you from afar, and even though you are unbelievably gifted relationally, people still at times have perceptions of us or ideas of us. And I'd like to just give people a chance to get to know you a little better on a different level.
Sure.
So first question, what is your favorite animal?
Well, I've been thinking about that. I would probably say a little puppy dog would be my favorite animal. We had dogs when I was growing up. And
yeah.
We'd get attached to them, then they'd get run over by a semi-truck.
My gosh. Brutal.
Yeah. They didn't last too long at our house because we live close to a highway. And Ripley, believe it or not.
Right. Highway 51.
Yeah, Highway 51.
And there's a lot of semi-trucks that flow that direction.
Yes, sir.
So a puppy dog's your favorite animal.
Yes.
It's not very exotic.
Well, Susan's been wanting another puppy dog, and I've been resisting because what would happen is that the last dog we had, we didn't train it well to not pee and poop in the house.
Oh,
and so when we would leave for a Sunday service, we'd come back and had to do a lot of cleanup.
Oh, Lord. Well, and you just don't want the heartache of another one getting run over, too.
Yeah. And when our daughter Rachel was growing up, she had she loved cats. And so when I would go on a missions trip, I'd come home and there'd be a new animal at the house,
geez. Yeah.
It's rough when cats get ground up inside the engine of your car.
My Lord. PETA is going to be contacting us. Well, I'm just going to let everybody know I hate cats. I think they are vile animals. And for all of the cat lovers out there, oh well.
Yeah, well, Susan has an allergy to cats, so that's helped us. But she's wanting another puppy dog, and eventually I'm going to give in and let that happen. But we've got to learn how to train this dog. So,
right.
They
have training schools for that sort of thing.
Okay, we'll probably get it done because I'm sure that's on Susan's list, so that's going to happen.
All right, so here is another question, and I'm intrigued with this. Do you know what TikTok is, and how would you define it or describe it?
Well, I've been my daughter is on TikTok.
Okay,
and so she's been kind of introducing me to TikTok, and TikTok is now getting more viewership than YouTube.
Yeah.
So there's a real shift to TikTok. So I'm gonna learn TikTok, and I'm gonna be a part of that.
Now I've got to see that. Most of the TikTok, and our listeners on podcasts won't be able to see, but YouTube, most of the TikTok is like they do music and they're doing little dance moves. Are we going to see you TikToking and such?
Hey, whatever we got to do, we're gonna make it happen.
You'll be all things to all people to win a few, right? TikTok legend. Now, you are known as an ice cream connoisseur.
Yes,
Everybody who knows you knows that. I think if anyone can speak accurately on this, it's you. So what is the best ice cream, period?
My favorite ice cream is Breyers ice cream.
Breyers.
Yeah. Now Bluebell is awesome, and also I like what is the name of that? I bought some last night. Purity. Bought Purity last night and had
That's
that.
local.
Yeah, that's local.
Yeah. So Breyers. That's a little surprising.
Yeah, well, Breyers is just top of the line, and plus it's produced right in West Tennessee.
Well, there it is.
Right there, right between Ripley and Covington on
So-
Highway 51.
Supporting hometown.
I'm a hometown boy. I listened to Ripley football the other day.
Really?
Yeah, live.
That is awesome. Well, you certainly love the state.
Yes.
And we'll talk a little more about that in a minute. But I'm a little hung up on the ice cream. What's your favorite flavor?
Oh, chocolate.
Chocolate. I'm a vanilla guy. And that's why I like Bluebell the best, because their homemade vanilla is ridiculous.
Well, you know what I like about I love vanilla if you have Hershey's chocolate syrup on it. But what happens is it spikes my sugar at over 300. So I have to be careful with that. I don't need to go on a binge.
Is there more sugar in vanilla than chocolate?
I think it's the Hershey's chocolate
That's
syrup.
probably what does it.
Yeah.
It's that extra topping.
Yeah. But everybody needs a good bowl of ice cream. It's good comfort food, and it just brings everything down to a common denominator.
So road tripping, where do you like to stop and get ice cream?
Oh, Jeremy, there's only one place.
Okay.
Chick-fil-A.
Chick-fil-A. And I
Chick-fil-A. They've got the best. Their ice cream is more like homemade ice cream than anywhere else.
It's so good. Everything Chick-fil-A does is impeccable.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. I figured that's what you would say. It definitely has outstanding ice cream. In the vein of eating, another question. What is the most bizarre thing you've ever eaten?
Well, probably crocodile would be one that.
Okay.
When we were in Africa one time, we had crocodile. Tastes like an old rotten, nasty shrimp.
A rotten shrimp.
Yeah, it was nasty.
Well, they eat like alligator tail. You go to restaurants in the South and you can get alligator, but it wasn't like that, huh?
Well, I've had alligator a few times.
Yeah.
Ostrich was my favorite food over in Africa.
Okay.
Yeah, and I really liked zebra because you had the white meat and dark meat right next to each other. It was it's pretty neat.
That was, my gosh, that was pretty good.
Yeah, you walked right into that one.
Oh man, that is the ultimate dad joke right there.
Yeah.
That might be a pawpaw joke.
It's a papa joke, yes.
I don't think I'm sure you ate chitlins growing up, because when you're from the South, that's like our bizarre food.
Well, I've never had chitlins.
Really?
My grandmother made possum one time, but I just I refused to eat that.
You couldn't do it.
I just couldn't. Now we eat raccoon quite a bit.
Yeah,
whenever we were growing up, and rabbit and squirrel and all sorts of things like
no
that.
chitlins.
No chitlins.
I ate it once or twice at my mama's house when I didn't really realize what it was. They're like, "We're having chitlins," and I'm like, "What is it?" Well, it's fried something.
Well, we grew up on bologna sandwiches.
Yes.
And salmon patties. And potted meat and Vienna sausages.
Vienna. And
those are good.
Yes, and that's the kind of stuff. That's West Tennessee.
Yes.
So all of our West Tennessee listeners and watchers, know exactly what I'm talking about. And it is Vienna sausages. That's how you pronounce it. I don't care what it says on the little can. People tell me it's Vienna. They're wrong.
They're wrong.
Completely and totally. Well, we're going to get to the more serious stuff, but I do have a couple more questions, because you're also a movie buff. And one of your favorite pastimes is to go to the movies and relax, maybe take a nap.
Well, I went to a movie not too long ago, and movie is my diversion.
Yeah.
And so I went to this movie, and I was the only one in the whole theater.
Oh my, that good a movie.
It was really a big time movie. So I don't usually care. I really don't care what's playing, because I'll get a big bucket of popcorn, eat that, and I take a nap. And wasn't too long ago, I was at this theater, and this guy woke me up and said, "Hey, the movie's over."
The next group's coming in.
Yeah.
Well, in that vein, do you have an all-time favorite movie? And if so, what is it?
Oh, that's a great question. Probably, I'll go back to my college days. When at Southeastern, when Brian's song came out, it
Okay.
was the story of Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo.
Yeah.
It was a sports movie, so
And
that was an awesome movie.
I read the screenplay. I don't think I ever saw the movie, but I remember reading the screenplay that was in the form of a book. For those that don't know, that's a little older.
Mm-hmm.
That's remained your favorite through all those years.
It was the most impactful.
Yeah.
I've always loved Indiana Jones
Yeah.
movies and Rocky movies. I remember we were going through a series of dogs back during that time, and we had a dog named Rocky, and
Yeah.
Michael was all tore up because Rocky got run over. And,
By a reindeer.
and I said, hey, look, we're going to get another dog. We're going to call him Rocky 2. I think we got up to Rocky 5.
Okay, you said Indiana Jones. So which of the Indiana Jones movies is your favorite?
The very first one.
Oh yeah, which one is it? I'm blanking.
Well, I am too. But it was Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
It was amazing.
And
Raiders
the Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yes,
Thank
that's
you,
what it
Kate,
was.
in the
Yes.
back. Our production manager back here had to feed us.
Yeah.
Yeah, Raiders of the Lost Ark. Oh yeah, and that had like the glory of God killing people in it.
Oh, that was amazing.
It was.
I'm just glad they found the Ark of the Covenant.
I
We
know.
know where it is now.
Now we know it's stashed in Area 51.
Yeah.
So, what's your favorite Rocky movie? Do you remember?
Rocky movie would probably be the one in which that he beat the Russian.
Yeah.
I can't remember what number it was, but I was so
I don't
glad to beat
remember
them
either.
Russians.
My goodness, when the Nazis get destroyed by the glory of God, and when the Russian gets beat, so
Yes,
you're very
yes.
American
Oh,
in your
to
tastes.
the T.
You're very American. You know, you referenced Brian's song being from your college years, and that sticking with you through all of this time, which makes me think about our younger selves and looking back, and I'm always intrigued at what I learn at the conclusion of a season, like who I was when I started a season versus who I am at the end of it. And so in that vein, roughly 10 years ago, you became the district or network superintendent.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So today, if you could go back and talk to Terry Bailey 10 years ago as he was being elected as network superintendent, what would you tell yourself then?
Grow up, boy.
Now, how old were you when you were elected?
Let's see.
Whatever you are now, minus 10.
Yeah, 57.
All right. So 57, and you
Maybe
would have said
50,
grow
may
up.
have been 56.
You just said grow up.
Yeah, I've had fun my whole life.
So what else would you say though, on a little more of a serious note? Because you obviously, when you entered that, there's a general idea of what the superintendent role entails, and then there's the reality you've lived in for 10 years.
Well, you know, J.R. Good was our former superintendent. I loved J.R., admired him, respected him, and honored him. I've always done that with every superintendent. To me, Gene Jackson was larger than life.
Yeah.
And I got to know him personally as a presbyter and just as being a pastor in the Middle Tennessee area. I got to know him personally and love the Jackson family. And then Pastor Eddie Turner, a great man of God, and then J.R. Gould. And so I would say that even though I worked down the hall from J.R., I had no idea. And I was the assistant sup after Randy Carter stepped aside. I had no idea what my superintendent really was going through. And it's just like when you look down the hall of a pastor or somebody, like, you think, man, if I was in that position, this is what I'd do. And I decided up front, I'm going to be me. I'm going to be Terry. And because I'm not going to try to be Eddie, I'm not going to try to be JR or Gene. I'm just going to be Terry, be the man that God created me to be.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you felt that pressure through the 10 years to be someone else, or from the outside or inside at times? Like I don't know. I guess that's the best way to ask it. Is that a real pressure at times to be like someone else, or to do things in ways that aren't necessarily in your nature or character?
Well, I think back a lot of times about David when he was going to take on Goliath, and Saul tried to put this on, do this, and David had to go to where his strengths were. So I've had to remind myself several times when I'm in the thick of a difficult situation is don't wear anybody else's armor.
Yeah.
And I've always believed that as we pray and seek the Lord, that the Holy Spirit gives us the wisdom that we need for that particular moment.
Yeah.
And so if I start thinking, well, what would Eddie do, or what would JR have done, or Gene, or something like that, I have to come back and say, Holy Spirit, what do you want me to do? Lord, what is your wisdom? What's your discernment at this particular juncture?
Right, because the Lord raised you and established you in this role because he wanted you in the role.
And I certainly hope whoever's superintendent after me in years to come, that he's certainly not anything like me.
Oh, whatever. We all would do well to be much more people-oriented. And that's, I've said on the record and off, that you're one of the most gifted relationally that I've ever met. And just observationally, because I am in that office down the hall, and at one point, for a brief window in time, for about 3 years, we planted a church, and I was the senior pastor. And those 3 years awakened me to the fact that I didn't really have a clue as a staff pastor what the lead person was bearing. And I think I get that now, as in I don't know what you've experienced. Observationally, you're leading leaders. You're leading people that are used to being in charge. You're leading people that have strong ideas about how things should be done and need to be done. And I would imagine that's a tension of trying to honor and respect, but being true to who you are and your gifting, and then all the information you have that none of us have.
Well, it is a challenge because we have an incredible executive board in the Tennessee Ministry Network. And also our presbyters that serve throughout the state. Each one of them were men of God that I admire them. I respect them. When they give me their ideas and their opinions, I really try to listen to what they have to say, and from their perspective to try to put myself in their world and why they're saying that and giving me that particular idea.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, the buck stops with me, and I've got to make a decision. And sometimes it's a different decision than what has been recommended to me.
Yeah. But I think in part because you are so diligent relationally, you've said it to me before, I never allow the lines of communication to be cut off. You try to always at least keep a connection point with somebody, that even in those moments when there's not a consensus on the decision, you relationally navigate it to the point where the relationship's still there, that there is still a connection. And you don't have to answer that or say anything to that unless you want to. I just am saying observationally again, you seem really good at handling that tension.
Well, to me, the relationship with that minister and that person that I'm working with at that particular juncture, their relationship is more important even than what we're dealing with at that particular moment.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, I still want them to be a part of the ministry network. I still want to be connected with that person and help them with whatever they may be working through in their church and ministry at that particular time. Because to me, relationship trumps.
Yes. And you've definitely lived by that creed through the 9 years that I've been working with you. In this vein, and this may not be the most comfortable question to ask or to answer, but maybe share what's been the most challenging part of the role for 10 years?
Well, it's the superintendent's responsibility to, as far as when it comes to discipline and investigations, the most difficult thing and the thing that keeps me awake at night. There are two things that keep me awake at night. One are the discipline issues. Whenever we're navigating through a situation with a minister, you're dealing not with a minister, but you're dealing with their family, you're dealing with the church, you're dealing with everything in that person's life. And to me, even then, the relationship trumps.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm having to dig, and I'm having to check into an accusation or something that's going on, and that keeps me awake at night. Matter of fact, we've gone through a season in which there's been more than one investigation going on at a time, and that's been a challenge. So
it's been brutal.
Oh yeah, it's been really brutal. And the second thing is when what keeps me awake at night is when I see how many communities in Tennessee that do not have a healthy AG church.
Yeah.
And even in some communities where we have an AG church and the church is not very healthy. We need to have a healthy AG church in every community in the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
That's our passion on the national level, on the worldwide level, but here in Tennessee, that's the thing that keeps me awake at night. When I think about communities, I drive through communities, go through places where there's not a healthy AG church.
And I want to drop a pin in that in one of our future podcasts. I think our whole focus needs to be on the need for healthy churches across the network, across the state of Tennessee, and some of the strategy that's taking place now and ways that we can start working toward that. But we'll do that in another time. We got plenty of these.
Well, I tell you, our network is at a really special place because the last 10 years, we've been paying off debt of other loans, of other church plants, of other situations that may not have turned out the way we had hoped it to turn out. I've never been a person to try to cast blame at anybody or anything like that.
Right.
Because I feel like whatever's handed to us, let's say if we were pastoring, if we took a church to pastor, we assume the debt. Mm-hmm. We assume whatever's happened in the past. That becomes a part of the DNA. That's what's happening.
Right.
So you work from that place. So I've never cast blame at anyone, but there were some situations in times past that ended up costing our network big time. At the same time, God has been faithful.
Yes, go ahead and tell it.
The Lord has helped us in the last 10 years to bring that debt where right now we're at a place, if our giving and everything holds up, we're going to be totally debt-free by the end of 2021.
Come on. I don't know if you heard that, watching and listening. It might be news to you, but debt-free as a network by the end of 2021. If everything plays out just right. If not, 2022 will be the year that we'll be able to knock it out. And that, again, I will hit church planning in a later episode.
Yes, and that's when we're going to talk about strategies.
Yes.
Because we've not really been able to have a really good strategy for church multiplication in Tennessee, but get ready.
Well, and every pastor can identify with, I've got dreams in my heart, but there are financial constraints. And here we are as a network. We're now able to put strategy to dreams going forward. So just a couple more questions, and then we'll bring this to a conclusion. What's the most enjoyable part of the job? By the way, you talked about what kept you up at night, and Tennessee football probably keeps both of us up at night, but we're not going to talk about that. We're recording this the weekend after the Vols lost to Pitt, 3 turnovers, 130 yards and penalties. I don't know when you'll be listening to this. Hopefully we haven't lost multiple games in a row.
I just want everybody to know, watch out Gators, watch out Alabama. We're coming for you. It might take another 10 years, but I'm going to tell you, we're coming back.
I want you to live to see it, Pastor Terry.
I'm going to live to see it. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to live to see it. And you and I are going to be in Neyland Stadium together celebrating it.
If they ever get to like the college football playoffs again, I'm going. Whatever.
We're
if I got to sell some blood, whatever I got to do to get there.
I'll sell my house to get there.
So anyway, real quick, the most enjoyable part of the job over 10 years.
I love connecting with pastors and ministers. It doesn't matter whether they're a pastor of a larger church or if they pastor a church of 12 people.
Yeah.
Every church, every minister is important to the ministry network, and I thoroughly enjoy connecting with them, with whatever minister it is. So
it's safe to say you're an extrovert.
Well, I'm sanguine. My temperament's a sanguine, and I've got it phlegmatic. I have enough in me that keeps me keeps my feet on the ground.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, we'll finish with just a series of questions, 1 or 2 sentences. We're in the last quarter of the year. And those that are watching and listening, it's an eclectic blend across our network, age-wise, gender, position. And so wanted to just ask a few questions that would maybe speak to different segments. And obviously, I'm in the role as one of your staff members. If we were in a local church, you'd be our senior pastor, lead pastor. I'd be the youth pastor. I'm the youth guy and kids guy. I'd be that staff pastor wearing a few different hats. Yeah. So anyway, so just a few questions, a sentence or two. What would you say to pastors about their staff pastors right now? If 1 or 2 sentences.
I believe it's very important that every pastor makes it very intentional to build a good, strong, healthy relationship with whoever you have working on staff with you, because relationships matter.
Yeah.
And as pastors, you're raising up the next generation.
Yeah.
And the importance of being a spiritual father, of pouring yourself into that staff person, believing in them, is so critical.
Just an aside on that, as a staff person, Michelle and I appreciate how much kindness and love and generosity you've shown to our children. And so for lead pastors out there with staff, if you can be a papa to their kids, oh, what a difference it makes in that relationship.
Yes, it does. Your kids are amazing.
Well, thank you.
Kingston and Neely, they're amazing.
I'm partial, for sure. Okay, so again, in the same vein, 1 sentence you would say to staff pastors about their senior or lead pastor.
I believe communication. Pastors, be intentional that you communicate, but also staff members, be very intentional that you communicate regularly with your pastor with what's happening in your ministry and in your life.
Yeah. I think another pin drop, it would be great to do a whole episode just on the staff relationship, lead person dynamic, and maybe we could talk from our own relationship and how we work, because you've alluded to that earlier. When you're in a staff role, you don't know what the pastor is enduring, what they're experiencing. And so I think that would be another good. I'm just throwing out basically reminders on this podcast of things that we'll want to hit in the future. And again, this is something we want to do monthly. For those that are listening, be sure to subscribe. We'll talk more about that at the end. A few more of these 1 sentence deals, or 2 sentence or 3. What's one thing you would say to a Chi Alpha missionary right now?
I would say the greatest mission field that we have in Tennessee are the college and university campuses across the state of Tennessee. There's such a great need. If you're pastor, if you have a young person in your youth group ministry that's going to go to a college campus, direct them to Chi Alpha.
And so our Chi Alphas are UT Knoxville, UT Chattanooga, Tennessee Tech, University of Memphis. Am I missing one?
Austin Peay.
Austin Peay. Sorry, Jonathan Miller.
Yeah.
And then we're working toward one with MTSU. I believe that's in the works. So if you've got a kid going to any of those, if you got a student that's going to Lee, then let us know, because we have a couple of churches in the area.
We have a new church plant in Cleveland.
Yes, we do. That wants to connect with AG kids in their local church. A couple more, and then I'll finish it up. What's 1 sentence or 2 sentences you'd say to a pastor or minister over 55 right now?
Pour into the next generation. We're all passing the torch.
Come on.
None of us are here permanently. We're all going to pass the torch, pass the baton.
Yeah.
And I want to reference something. One of the first football games I ever went to in my life was in Ripley played Jackson.
Okay.
In 1965, at the Big Ten championship. That's back before we had playoffs and all this in high school ball. And so we went to that football game on Thanksgiving Day in 1965, and Ripley beat Jackson Northside 3-0. It was a defensive struggle.
Yeah.
And this past Friday night, I know this is going to air maybe another few weeks down the road, but I listened to Ripley play the same team.
Oh, wow.
And Ripley got beat 28-12 or 28-13 this past Friday night. And it made me think of how time is passing for all of us.
Wow.
And so what I would say for any pastor that's 55 plus is don't just hang on, but begin to release yourself and impart yourself and pour yourself out into the generation that's coming behind us. They're going to do it greater and better. They're going to far exceed anything what we've been able to accomplish. But we've laid a foundation. Now, once you get 55 plus, start pouring yourself into others.
That's awesome. So one more, and in that same thought, what's one or two sentences you would say to a young leader under 30 right now?
I would say honor and respect.
Okay.
Honor and respect those that are in the third and fourth quarter of their life.
Wow.
Honor and respect them and listen to what they have to say, because you may have better ideas and your ideas may be wonderful, but listen, because they have a level of wisdom and discernment and understanding that you just don't have in the first two quarters of your life.
Absolutely.
You know, you get in the third and fourth quarter. Listen to those people that are still running the ball in the third and fourth quarter. Listen to those that are still out there in the game.
Right.
Because I'm going to tell you something, they can teach you a lot.
Right. I think a lot of times when you're in your 20s and you hear something like that, if you're not careful, you'll bristle or build up a little bit of a wall. But I would just offer this. There's not a 45-year-old out there that would say, man, I was so much smarter when I was 25 than I am when I'm 45. And the same will be true of you too. As a 25-year-old, 28-year-old, you get 10, 20 years down the road, and you're going to look back at this present version of yourself and say, I know a lot more now than I did then. And if you could keep that in mind when dealing with those that are of an older generation, I think it would help you tremendously.
Well, when I was a young youth pastor in my early 20s and into my 30s, I always wondered, why don't you parents take better care of your kids? I mean, you know, and then I started having teenagers, you know. So your perspective change as you shift through the seasons of life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, we thank you for joining us today on the Tennessee Ministry Network Influencers Podcast. This is our network superintendent's special edition. You can follow us on our YouTube channel. You can find this on iTunes and other podcast formats. You can follow me at Jeremy Austell on Instagram or Twitter. Do you know your Twitter handle?
I have no idea.
You just use it.
I'm basically a follower on Twitter, and I'm looking for what the latest sports beat about Tennessee Volunteers.
Twitter is your sports page.
That's right.
That's right. So you can.
That's because you trained me how to do that.
I did.
Yes.
I showed you who to follow. But you can find Pastor Terry on Facebook and follow him.
I'm on Twitter too, but I can't tell you what I have no idea.
I could look it up, but we'll just refrain. But
I'm gonna get a TikTok. TikTok.
No, you got to tell me when you get the TikTok. I will be sharing your TikToks. So be sure to subscribe to the podcast as well as the YouTube channel so that you'll receive notifications when our new episodes come up. Once again, thank you for joining us. We appreciate your ears. We'll see you soon or hear you soon.
We'll see you.